Diaspora is used to refer to people who have left their homelands and settled in other parts of the world, either because they were forced to do so or because they wanted to live on their own. The word is increasingly used for such people as a collective, group, and or a community. The world has seen many diasporas, but scholars have been studying the phenomenon with great interest only in recent decades. Among the great diasporas of history is that of the Jewish people, who were forced to leave their lands in ancient times. The movement of Aryans from Central Europe to the Indian subcontinent thousands of years ago is also a noteworthy diaspora. Though the causes of this diaspora are nuclear. In 20th 20th century history, the Palestinian diasporas have attracted a lot of attention and been a cause of concern for world leaders because of the plight of Palestinians. There have been massive diaspora in Africa too over the centuries, either because of war or because of the ravage of nature. But the chief reason why the phenomenon of diaspora is attracting so much attention now is globalization. So guys, thanks for your watching. Let's enjoy this gameplay. Okay guys. Are all diasporas not voluntary? 1. No, all diasporas are not voluntary. Yes, all diasporas are voluntary. No, all diasporas is not voluntary. Yes, all diasporas are mandatory. Are sometimes forced to leave their homelands, universities, lands, homes. The study of diaspora attracts scholars only in recent decades, in past decades, in modern decades, and ancient decades. Aryans, Mongolians, and Mughals from Central Europe and Asia are some of the major diasporas of the past. To the Indian continent, to the Indian subcontinent, to the Indian countries, to the Australian countries. Diaspora in one country helps to know other countries, to bridge gaps between nations, hence it strengthens globalization. To bridge gaps between nations and religions, to bridge gaps between cultures the and religions. The globalization has a great influence on education, culture, diaspora, politics. Over the centuries, people travel from one country to another country, from one city to another city, from one province to another province, from one state to another state. Globalization has created complex across the world connections, interactions, interconnections, relationship. Culture have acquired a mobility that brings about new clashes of civilization and struggles between people aware of civilization and struggle between people, clashes of modernization and struggles between people, clashes of civilization and struggle between friends who were forced to leave their lands in ancient times. Christians, Indians, Jewish, Buddhists. The 10 Philistine diaspora have attracted a lot of attention to the world leaders. In 20th century, in 21st century, in 19th century, in 21st century. Where have many diasporas in the world? In Europe, in North America, in Africa, in Australia. What does diaspora mean? People who live in countries and settle in other parts of the world. People live in their own country. People go abroad. People work in other countries. The scholars start their studies on diasporas very recently, thousands of years in recent past, in ancient times. In Africa, there have been massive diasporas from by the massive diasporas, no diasporas, a little diasporas, very little diasporas. The Aryans came to the Indian subcontinent from America, Africa, Europe, Europe. The world decade refers to 10 years, 30 years, 5 years. The Jewish people settled in Africa, India, Europe. There are reasons behind diaspora. One, two, three. Diaspora group results in incongruous are all diasporas voluntary. If all diasporas are not voluntary, why would a group of people want to have voluntary? When has the study of diasporas started to attract scholars? What are some of the major diasporas of the past? What has globalization to do with diasporas? What is diaspora? What are the scholars studying on? Who are mainly treated as diaspora in the world? Where have been massive diasporas and why? When did the Jewish people leave their land? Where did the Aryans move? Why do people leave their own countries? What do you know about the Palestinians? What do you mean by diaspora? Where did the Aryans come from? What is the great diaspora of history? Why does diaspora comes to the limelight? What is the study of the scholars reading diaspora? The original land of Aryans is India. The scholars have no interest at all for the diaspora. The history of diaspora is very ancient. The ravage of nature is a reason for diaspora. The origin of diasporas is clear. Scholars have no interest at all for the diasporas. The ancient Jewish people left their land eagerly. The Palestinian diaspora has drawn a lot of attention to the modern leaders. The Jewish diasporas have become a major concern for the world leaders. There have no diasporas in Africa. Diaspora has drawn wider attention because of the trend of globalization. There are two reasons behind diasporas. No, diasporas are not voluntary lands in recent decades to the Indian continent to bridge gaps between nations. Hence, it strengthens globalization diaspora from one country to another country. Interconnections, clashes of civilization, and struggles between people, Jewish in 20th century in Africa, people who leave their own countries and settle in other parts of the world.
দুজন কি রাখতাম ফোন তোর বাচ্চা প্রতিদিন এক কথা বলতে পারতো না এক কথা একবার করে দিদি শেষ ওরালে করে না তো কামড় দিবেন তাহলে দিয়ে আতন হয়ে দিয়েছি এবেলে ওরালে সালালে মতন না শেষ কাম করছে সংসার চালা সোনা করো ব্যাগ কিছু ব্যাগ কিছু না রে হুম দেয় গোসলের কাম দেয় থাক
No, all diasporas are not voluntary. It is because people are sometimes forced by the to leave their lands over the centuries, either because of war or ravages of nature. There have been massive diasporas in Africa. The study of diaspora attracts scholars only in recent decades. Aryans, Mongolians, and Mughals from Central Europe and Asia to the Indian continent are some of the major diasporas of the past. Globalization facilitates people to people connection. Diaspora in one country helps to bridge gaps between nations, hence it strengthens globalizations. Therefore, globalization has a great influence on diaspora. The term diaspora in used to refer to people who have left their homelands and settled in other parts of the world, either because they were forced to do so or they wanted to live on their own. The scholars have been studying its great diasporas of history is that of the Jewish people, who were forced to leave their lands in ancient times. There have been massive diaspora in Africa too over the centuries, either because of war or because of the ravages of nature. In ancient times, the Jewish people left their land. The Aryans moved to India from Central Europe. People leave their own country either because they were forced to leave or willingly. The Palestinian diaspora in 20th century has attracted world leaders' attention. Diaspora means people who left their homelands and settled in other parts of the world. The Aryans came from Central Europe. Jewish people are the great diasporas in history. Because of globalization, diaspora has come to the limelight. The scholars have been observing the phenomenon of diaspora with a great interest. The original land of Aryans is Central Europe. Scholars have been thinking of diaspora with great interest. The history of Jewish people is very ancient. The origin of diasporas is not clear. Scholars have great interest for the diasporas. The ancient Jewish people were forced to leave their land. The Palestinians have become a major concern for the world leaders. British Bangladeshis, also known as British Bengalis, are an important part of the Bangladeshi diaspora or those of Bangladeshi origin who are living abroad. Almost half of all British Bangladeshis live in London, especially in the East London boroughs of which Tower Hamlets has the highest connection. Today, a tourist who is new to London may well decide to make her way over to the east end of the city to visit Banglatown. After exiting the tube station there, she might follow the signs that point to Brick Lane, a street that has gained certain notoriety from Monica Ali's best-selling novel of the same name, which was also made into a movie. She may decided to try out one of the many Bangladeshi restaurants she sees there for lunch. Sitting at one of the tables with a window onto the streets, she might notice that our street signs are not just in English but also in Bengali, and the lampposts are in green and red, the colors of Bangladeshi flag. In fact, everywhere she looks, she finds visual causes of the Bangladeshi, and even more especially the Sylheti presence in the area. Storefronts advertise flights from London to Sylhet, some on Bangladesh Biman, the national airline of Bangladesh, and others on Air Sylhet, a private airline company formed a British Bangladeshis. There is a sign for Sonali Bank, the major state-owned commercial bank of Bangladesh. There is a food store advertising frozen fish from Sylhet Surma River. She watches two elderly men with long grey beards enter the store. They are dressed in long white tunics, baggy pants, and white head caps. She sees a group of teenagers walking down the street in animated conversation.